Hello, this is Coffee Break with Ninita, a daily guide of coping skills that gets us through by making us strong. Today's, it's going to pretty much be an answer to the question we placed yesterday's discussion close to the end. And the question was, what do you do when you're faced with procrastination? When people put off to do what they have to do and it takes much longer to accomplish a task that probably should be taken care of in less time. What do you do? How do you face it? How do you cope with that? What are the coping skills we need to use in order to make procrastination go away? Under normal circumstances, the way normal meant or was used before the pandemic, there's a different approach. I will be looking forward to the day that I will be talking about that different approach. Right now, what I want to focus on is what can we do with procrastination today as we are going through the pandemic, while the new normal is slowly but surely drifting away from the way we used to know normal before. We have variables that we did not have, or the nature of variables that were not the same with how things were before. We have the presence of anxiety, stress, and frustration, which are foundation for chaos. When today we face procrastination, you can link it very much with the fact that there is a lot of stress in the air, a lot of anxiety in the air. And often, by pushing away what needs to be taken care of, feels like a way of reducing that kind of stress, that kind of anxiety. Of course, it creates conflicts and arguments, but nevertheless, it feels like the intense anxiety is subsided by procrastination. Therefore, today, as we're seeing people procrastinating, especially children, but that applies to adults also, one rule we want to always have in mind is that procrastination is very much connected with the degree of anxiety that exists. Before, that anxiety had to do with a task, homework, attending a meeting, and so on and so forth. Today, it has a lot to do with the change of the structure of our daily routines. We cannot apply the same ground rules, the same schedule, the same routines that we had before. Many things have changed. People stay home, or people go out to work while they're leaving children home because schools are closed. There are many variables that fill the air with anxiety and problems. So procrastination now is becoming a coping mechanism, not the best, but it is a coping mechanism of avoiding to deal with the reality that is getting too much for people. So depending on the circumstances, my advice will be maybe we need to be more tolerant of procrastination today, not to get upset the way we used to when people or children were procrastinating, taking care of their responsibilities. We want to be more lenient and stay more calm, because there's a possibility that by following through with deadlines and responsibilities, we might be increasing the level of anxiety. And yes, we will achieve and accomplish whatever we need to take care of, but at what expense? This pandemic has not only affected us physically first and financially, but has greatly affected us emotionally and mentally. And physically, not in the form of staying well and healthy, but in the form of how we can create a way of managing people's responsibilities and activities in the new way, because before there was no conflict, and this new way of everybody being in this kind of separation and isolation, we find a lot of overlapping of people's responsibilities in order to be taken care of, stepping on each other's toes. Therefore, let's try this time to prioritize more the calmness in the household than the tension of completing tasks and taking care of responsibilities. We are in a new situation, and first and foremost, something that is very important is to designate this period as a period for adjustment, not as a period of completing tasks. With today's, we conclude the first part of our podcast series, and we're going to resume June 1st with the second part we're sure you're going to love.